Hello and welcome back again, everyone. Today we are going to recap an inspiring Indian movie named 12th Fail from 2023. So let's go. From a poor man who doesn't have money to the most senior police officer in his village. The film begins in the village of Chambal in India with Manoj preparing cheat sheets that he will use in his third-year exams on the roof of their house. While his family is living in peace, a delivery man from Manoj's father's place of work enters and gives him a letter of suspending him from work. Manoj's grandmother gets angry with the delivery man, "I won't let you disturb my son's work," and asks Manoj's brother to bring his grandfather's gun to get rid of that delivery guy. But the delivery guy tells her that Manoj's father, who is named Rumfer, hit his boss Mr. Chauhan with a boot, and he completes the story for her. And we learn that Mr. Chauhan asked Rumfer to sign off on selling the seeds of the agricultural land, but Muffer refused because the farmers didn't sell their seeds this season. And the mayor took the seeds and didn't give the farmers their money. And Muffer accuses the mayor and his manager of stealing and takes off his boot and throws it at Chauhan twice and leaves. After the delivery guy finishes talking, Manoj's grandmother insults him and her grandson grabs the gun and fires a shot in the air. Then the police come and ask the delivery guy to hang a notice of suspension from work on his doorstep and leaves. And Ramfir told his family that he will go to the Supreme Court and complain about the manager and the mayor. And the next day, Manoj goes to the exam. But the teacher tells them that the school has implemented a new system, which is that they will tell them the answers so that they will pass. And the teacher actually starts telling the students the answers. But a new deputy in the police enters. His name is Mr. Dushahan. He saw the cheat sheets on his way and got angry. So the school principal came and took Doshanat and told him that these are stupid. And even if they study, they will not succeed. He asks the teacher to stop cheating. At the same moment, he learns that the village is famous for bandits, and the students' families might destroy the school if their children don't succeed. And they say that cheating is an old tradition, and this mayor knows about it. And the school principal takes out a bribe and gives it to Mr. Dushahan, but Dushahan refuses the bribe and cheating, and he asks his assistant to film the bribe, and he arrests the school principal, and all the students in it fail. Manoj's family gets upset because if Manoj had succeeded, he would have been appointed an employee and brought them money instead of his father, the one who stopped working. But Mufir decides to leave the house and go to the Supreme Court to get his rights and fight injustice. And this upsets his wife because he will leave them without money, and they don't have money in the house, and his son fails, but Mufir insists on what he decided. And the next day we see Manoj and his big brother, and they work on a rickshaw. They transport people from one place to another. But while they are walking, they are met by a man from the village mayor's men. He tells them that the rickshaw cannot pass this line, and he takes the passengers to put them on the mayor's bus, which is more expensive than the rickshaw. But Manoj's brother refuses to let the passengers get off the car, and he hits the man with his boot twice. And while they are returning at sunset, the police stop them and take Manoj and his brother to the prison, and they ask the passengers to get on the bus of the mayor. At night, a policeman enters the prison to Manoj and his brother. He beats Manoj's brother and insults their father. So Manoj defends his father and says to the officer, "If you don't shut up, I'll finish you off with my grandfather's gun." Of course, the policeman is teased, and Manoj gets out of prison and says to him, "If you don't finish me off tonight, I'll finish off your brother." So Manoj gets terrified and goes to Mr. Dushan's house, the new deputy. But Doshanit told him to come tomorrow, and Manuk got angry and said, "If you had come that day and prevented the cheating, I would have been successful now. But you used to care about honesty, and now my brother is going to die and you don't care about anything." After begging him to listen to him, and Dushan actually agrees, and he takes him to the police station, and his brother comes out and takes them in his car. But after he drops them off, and Manoj asks him how he can be a police deputy like him. So he responds and tells him to stop cheating. So Manoj promises his brother that he will be a great police officer like Deputy Dushan. And after Manoj heard Dushan's reply, he was studying day and night to pass the exams. And on the day of the exams, Mr. Dushan was transferred to another village due to this incident, and the school went back to cheating again. But at that time, Manoj solved it with his own effort and came in third place. And after he finished the bachelor's degree, his grandmother called him and gave him all the money she had saved from living, and asked him to take it and travel to attend the civil service exams and become a DSP officer, and to return to the village wearing the police uniform. He actually traveled by bus and slept in it, and after he reaches Gwalior city, he wakes up and does not find his bag, which contains the money and all his clothes. The driver tells him that the lady who was sitting next to him took the bag and slipped an hour ago. So Manoj is shocked and sleeps in the street in front front of the social service testing place. And as soon as it opens, Manoj learns that the government has stopped recruitment because there is no money to pay salaries. So Manoj leaves the place upset and angry and sleeps in front of a big restaurant. The next day, Manoj is going to die of hunger. So he goes in and asks a restaurant worker to give him food, and this is in exchange for him doing him a favor as washing dishes or wiping the floor. So the shop worker agrees. And as soon as Manoj sees a plate full of food, he finishes it in less than a minute with pleasure. He goes to the worker and asks him what service he can provide him, but the worker asks him not to care about it. So Manoj quarrels with him because it is not right for him to eat something and not pay for it. So Britam, the worker, asks him to calm down and tells him that he will pay him later. And Manoj went to him and told him that my grandmother gave me all her money when I returned to her, and I can't break my promise to her. And Britam tells him that he also came to become an officer, and from here they get to know each other. And Britam tells him that he will travel to Delhi to take the civil service exam to become an IPS officer. And Manoj was surprised and asked him, what is the difference between the regular officer's exam and this exam? And we know that this rank is reached by a DSP officer after working for 20 years. So Manoj is happy and asks Britam to take him with him to Delhi because he won't be able to return to his village. And Britam actually agrees. And when he takes him, he meets a guy named Gauri. He tells them that he failed the exams for 5 years and he is waiting for the result of the 6th attempt. And he makes them understand that the exams are 3 parts: the preparatory, then the basic, then the interview. And 200,000 students are applying every year. Only 10 pass. After they finish, Manoj goes to Britam's apartment and he tells him that he wants to become a corrupt officer to fulfill his father's wish, the one who works illegally. And Britam tells him that he wants to become a TV announcer, but he is afraid of his father and his mother. And the next day, Gauri's exam results come out, and we know that unfortunately he failed for the 6th and final time. And the one who got the first place, named Deep Mohan. So Britam joins him and leaves Manoj. And then Gauri opens a coffee shop and explains to the rest of the students, including Manoj, how do they pass the exam. Manoj takes the exam for the first time, but fails it. And Gauri asks him not to give up and tries again. So Manoj decides that he will work in a library for a year, apart from his studies. And one time Manoj sees the officer, Deep Mohan. He is explaining to the students about the interview exam, but he thinks that Manoj is a waiter. But after he knows that he is preparing for the exams, he apologizes to him and tells him that he studied alone and that if anything he wants, he can come to him. Manoj continues to study and work in the library all year, but Britam was relying on his money, and he and his friends are looking down on Manoj because he has no money and wants to become an officer. At night, he is studying in the library. In the morning, he wakes up by an old man for the exam, and on the day of the results, Manoj is able to pass the test introductory, unlike Britam, who failed despite his lot of money. This makes Gauri happy. Britam starts bringing him new clothes. Manoj calls his family from Britam's phone. After that, Manoj goes to a very famous training center to prepare for the basics exam. And he met the employee Zai, and she told him that the training costs 1,200 rupees. And Manoj told her that I only have 680 rupees, and I will clean the institute and the bathrooms. And she told him to go and hang the photos. And when he went to hang the photos of Deep Chauhan, and they wrote on it that Chauhan studied in this institute. And Manoj called Zai and told her that Deep Mohan did not study here because I know him and he taught himself and the students who wanted to study with him, and they knew that Zai was lying. So Zai went to him and told him that this is an advertisement and we paid Chauhan to lie, and this is a lie, and you take care of your job and do not interfere. And Manoj was annoyed by her words, so he asks for his money and leaves. But before he leaves, he meets a girl named Shraddha from the students who came to study with them, and he told her what he knows about Chauhan. And Manoj told her that Chauhan did not study here, and Zai is lying to you. And the girl told them that I will not study with you. And she left them and went out. And Manoj also left the institute and followed the girl, and he was trying to get to know her and ask her about her name. And before she could answer him, her father took her and left. And Manoj kept thinking about her. And after a while, the girl came to the library and met him, and she told him her name. And she saw a book for engineering in his hand. So she asks him if he is an engineer. But Manoj is afraid to tell her the truth, so she may not talk to him. And she tells him that she found a training center for the exam. The next day, Manoj goes with Shraddha to the center, and the professor asks him to come to him in front of the student. And we know that he is the best one who wrote the essay. And Manoj goes out a lot with her, and she tells him that she chose to be a police officer to fight the corruption, although it was available for her to be a doctor. And the next day she found out that Manoj is not an engineer when the professor asked him something about engineering, but he couldn't respond. And the professor said that he read his file and he is not an engineer. So he told her the truth and tries to justify himself, but she did not want to listen to him. Then she gets angry and leaves him and walks away. At night, the library's owner accuses Manoj of stealing money, and he tells him him, "If you become an officer, you will destroy the country because you are a son of a thief." Then Manoj gets angry and lifts the boot at him, aiming to hit him, but he retreats and leaves the library. And he disappeared, and he never attended his classes. And after a long search, Britam found him, and he saw him living in a small room with a mill, and the voice was loud. And he told him how to live in this darkness with a loud voice, and how to study, and he offered to live with him. But Manuk refused, and he told him that he would not be happy with him, and that he found another work, and he brought a lamp to study on its light. And he knew that Manik would fail the exam. And when it was the day of the English language exam, Manik answered all the questions, and he was happy. But the surprise came from this exam. He told his friend that he wrote an article about terrorism as an answer to the first question, and his friend was surprised, and he told him that the first question was about tourism in India, not terrorism, and this means that your answer is wrong. So Manuk collapsed because he failed the exam, and then he left the city. And after a few months, we see Manuk, and he went to Shraddha's house to apologize to her, and when he arrived, the servant told him that I will call her and let her talk to you. And when she talked to him, she asked him, "Why did you come to my house?" And Manuk told her that he wanted to apologize to her, because in the beginning, I wanted to tell you that I love you, and I will turn the world upside down if you tell me that I love you. And then she kicked him out of her house, and Manuk was depressed and left the house. And the next day he returned to his village, and he was shocked when he found out that his grandmother had died, and he was very upset. And his mother told him that when his grandmother was dying, she said that her grandson will be back. And Manuk came back to Delhi, and he started working 15 hours a day, and he used to send money to his family, and he studied for 6 hours, and he slept for 3 hours. And then Shraddha went back to the institute, and she met Manuk and apologized to him. And she said to him that my manner was rude with you that day. And Manuk said thank you to her, because you were rude that day, because my life has no room for love, and I have to work and study. And then he left her, and the next day she went to the mill, and she saw a very difficult situation, and she said to him that you will not succeed in this situation because you need rest, and I will give you money, and when you succeed, give it back to me. But he told her that he did not need anything, and for the third time he submitted to the exam, and he got the results, and unfortunately he failed, and he had one last chance. And she sat with him in the mill, and she held his hand, and when Britam saw her holding his hand, he got upset, and he said to her why he failed the exam. And he said to Manuk that I am afraid for your interest. If you do not do something for yourself, she is the first one to leave you. And she got angry at him, and she got up and left the mill, and Manuk followed her, and she said to him, "You will turn the world upside down if I tell you that I love you." And she said to him that I love you. And Manuk went to Chauhan's house, and he told him to give him 5 minutes from his time, and he agreed, and he sat with him, and he told him that he wants to succeed. But when he got to the main exam, he fails. Chauhan gave him a pen and paper, and he said to him that I will give you 8 minutes, and I want you to write 200 words about your life. And he started to write, and at the end of the time, Chauhan took the paper from him, and he saw that he wrote only 90 words, and he said to him that I gave you a topic about your life, and you could not think of it. How will you write 200 words about international relations and internal security? And he continued his words, and he said to him that I am sorry, but you will not succeed. And he left him. And when he came back, Gauri said to him that Chauhan's words are true. If you continue to live in the mill, you will not succeed. And he gave him his room. And he said to him that from today you will live in it, and you will not work, and I will spend on your family until you succeed, and give me back the money. And Manuk refused, but Gauri shouted at him, and he said to him that if you say another word, I will kill you. And Gauri gave him a room, while Shraddha was sending him the good food. After that, Manuk applied for the basic exams, and he managed to succeed. And now the interview exam remaining, and he will be a police officer. And Britam became jealous of Manuk and told Manuk that everything he got was because of him. But Manuk ignores him, and he went to call Shraddha to tell her. But her mother replied and told him that Shraddha is not at home right now. Then after some hours, Shraddha called him and told him that she cannot come, as Simoni told her father wrong things about her, and that caused that he prevented her getting out from home. Then Manuk went to Britam, and he found him in prison. So he got him out of prison and took his phone, and found that Britam called Shraddha's father and told him the wrong things about her. Then Shraddha told her father that she passed the exams, and she will be an officer and can get out of the home without his permission, but she will not do this. And she is upset because her father believed what a stranger said about her. Then she went with Manuk to the barber to make him ready for the interview. Then he arrived to the interview's place with Shraddha, and she gave him a letter to read after he completes the interview. Then he entered, and she waited him outside. And when Manuk entered the room of the interview, Dr. Mehedi asked him why he failed in the 3rd secondary school. Manuk told him that an officer called Duchin came and prevented them from cheating, so they failed. And the doctor told him to wait outside for a minute, and then he decided to read the letter of Shraddha, and she says in it that it does not matter for her if he is an officer or not. So he became comfortable. And when he entered the interview again, he told them that in their village, they let them cheat to make the poor without education, because if the poor remains ignorant of knowledge, he will continue to blindly follow the cattle. And here, one of the interviewees spoke to him in English. Monok did not understand his words and told him, "You can speak Hindi." And they were annoyed and told him, "A simple language like English, you did not learn it. How will it be suitable for the job?" And he replied to them and told them, "You can give me water." And they gave him water in a glass. He told them, "I cannot drink this. I want a glass of this." And they said to him, "What is the difference? As long as the water is clean, drink it." He smiled and said, "Exactly, as long as the officer will be clean. What is the difference if he speaks English or Hindi?" And they were annoyed by his intelligence and told him, "If you do not accept, what will happen?" And he told them, "I will accept the matter, but I will not rest until I reach my goal." And they told him that either you succeed the fourth time or they will not allow you to pass. And he told them that my goal is not to become an officer. My goal is to reform my country. And they ended the interview, and before he left, Dr. Mehta said, "We wasted our time." Monok knew that he would not succeed, and after a month the results came out, and Monok refused to know the result because he knew that they refused. But he insisted to go, and when he got there, Monok told her, "Go and see it, and I will wait here." And indeed, she went and saw the result, and here she found success. And when she told him, he fell to the ground and started crying. And after a year of this incident, he became a clean officer, and they went to meet the officer Doshanit, and he invited him to attend the wedding. But Doshanit did not know him, and Monok told him that I am the guy who told him not to cheat, and I did what you said, and I stopped cheating, and I succeeded in my life. And Doshanit remembered him, and he hugged him. And after that, he had a wedding in the village, and at the wedding, we see the mayor, and he lost all his wealth because of Monok, who stopped them by using the law. And the village turned from a village owned by thieves and robbers to a clean village ruled by the law. And at this time, the people of the village started to learn by using their reading and intelligence, and the village started to improve, and knowledge started to spread. The story of the movie is inspired by the real story that happened in India, and this is the end of the movie.